Welcome to Everything's Fucked podcast, where you haven't been fucked till you've heard everything's fucked. You're listening to Monica
and Asia.
And today we're going to be talking about parent shaming because fuck those people and fuck their shaming.
Fuck their opinions, man.
Everybody's got opinions, and everybody's got opinions on how everybody's raising their kids. How do you feel about that?
Yes, they do. It's terrible. From moment one. I mean, from the moment that the little line clicks on your pregnancy test, that's when
everybody's
the
got
starts.
An opinion. Yeah. Oh, you're pregnant? Maybe not the best time.
Oh, but you don't have. Oh, but you're not married. It comes. It all.
Oh, with that guy.
Yeah. So it starts from moment one, and it carries on until they're adults. I mean, then your
until you die.
Yeah.
Actually, after your death.
This is a life sentence, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Be prepared if you haven't had children yet.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about how I deal with them and how Monica deals with them and how we stop the shame. You know what I mean? And stand up for our parenting. You can never
stop the shame, but maybe you can just mitigate it.
Yeah. Make them knock it off. Yeah. I mean more like, just manage it better.
Yes.
Everybody has a parent. Everybody has a parenting style, and it's okay,
Manage it better within yourself because you can't manage other people.
Exactly. That's what I meant.
Yes.
You're speaking for me. I love it.
We can speak together. Can you think of any instances where you felt like the most parent shame?
I think that came with my pregnancy with Rebecca, because I got pregnant out of wedlock. I was 16. I was like, I think a freshman. It was my freshman year.
Baby.
It was like freshman summertime, I think, is when that all went down. And so going to the prenatal appointments, you get so much judgment because I looked like a little kid. People not thinking I could keep my kid, telling me I should give her up for adoption because she doesn't have a mother and a father, and putting in all of their 2 cents, like really from the gate, and telling me how they felt about how I was going to raise my daughter, and making me feel like their opinions mattered too, really pushing and forcing them on me. So I think it started all with just being so young and not really knowing what I was doing, and everybody seeing that and then thinking that their opinions were going to help me. So
that's really hard because that puts such a negative influence on how you're already going to be making decisions for yourself and for your daughter. And then that just puts like all of the negative thoughts, like, now how am I going to make all these decisions?
Yeah.
People don't think I can do this. People don't think I should even be raising this kid.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be raising this kid. And how do you even overcome all of that? You're young, and you're entering into such a stressful situation anyway, and then people are just giving you very unhelpful, it's not even advice, it's just unhelpful input.
Yeah, they're like, by the way, this might happen, and guess what? This is what you're in for. And it's like, wow, well, I don't need all of that. I already have a lot of anxiety on myself. I'm already putting a lot of pressure on me. You don't have to come in and put outside pressure, uncle whoever or auntie whoever, like,
or
you don't
a stranger off the street. Thank you.
Or dude on the bus. You know what I mean? Telling me how I should be, raising my kid, and it's always been difficult. I think that having children opens you up to everybody's opinion. It just opens you up. Everyone wants to say something. Everybody.
Mine started, well, I mean, there's lots of situations, but one that was really impactful for me is when Ramona was super little. So I was very sick the whole time I was pregnant with Ramona. So she never got very big. I never got very big when I was pregnant with her. And then she was considered premature size when she was born, even though I went full term. So she was only 6 pounds when she was born, which I don't know if this is everywhere, but in the state of Oregon, she was considered premature size.
Yeah.
So she has always been in the 25th percentile or smaller for her weight. And if you know anything about percentiles, that just means that 75% of her peers are bigger than she is.
Yes.
And so when we went to a pediatrician appointment one time, I never really liked this pediatrician too much, but the pediatrician basically was accusing me of starving her, not feeding her correctly, not giving her enough food. And I think Ramona at the time was about 4 or something. And she was just a little wisp of a thing.
Nugget,
she was just tiny. Yeah. And she had always been super skinny and really, lean. And I just remember thinking in my head, like, how dare this woman who doesn't know me and doesn't know my daughter, doesn't see what kind of food my child eats or how much she eats, how dare she accuse me of starving my daughter? I just left that appointment just crying and so
Yeah.
upset at how she was treating me. And, we had state health insurance at the time, and I was a single mom and by myself. And I just felt so defeated.
Yeah.
And I found a pediatrician immediately after that. And we have the same pediatrician still. And she's just this wonderful woman. And she always talks about how Ramona is so healthy and,
Yeah.
it's okay
Puts
how
in all
thin
the
she
good.
is.
Yeah. Puts all the
And
good
she's
into
so
you.
healthy. Yes. And oh, Ramona must have a wonderful diet and Ramona must get so much exercise. And look how healthy Ramona is. And she always says that. And I just remember thinking, like, this is what
I need to
a
hear.
pediatrician should be
Yeah.
saying to a mother,
Yeah. And
you know?
that pediatrician, the first one, Ramona's always ate you out of a house and home. I mean, what would you say to the doctor though to convince them of that? Like you can't so you sit there and you're just like it takes it just it puts you down because you
And
can't even stick up for
yeah.
yourself. You
And
know what I mean? You
the
can't
thing that was
prove that they eat
no,
so
I
much.
can't. And but the thing is too is like if she had looked into Ramona's chart, she could have seen her progressive growth. She was low weight and then she continued to grow. And so that was the thing that was so frustrating to me. And so when people come in with these parent shaming comments and remarks, it's like you're looking at somebody and you don't even have the whole picture of
Yeah.
something and you don't understand the background information of that person. You don't understand the dynamics of that family. You don't understand the dynamics of that child. And you're coming in with a asshole opinion about
Yeah.
what's going on with that situation that you don't know anything about. And you're giving your 2 cents about it. And what do you know? Nothing.
They don't even know the context. They don't know they don't even know what they're looking at and they're making judgments. Quick
Yeah.
judgments too. So happens every day.
Yeah. It's really frustrating. So
Did you get a lot of flack for anything like baby names or your birth plan? Or did you get any flack
yes.
for the preschool you wanted to put her in? Did anybody really just let you have
I
it for no
I did.
reason?
I started so originally we had picked out the name Evelyn and
Oh, that's a really pretty name, by the way. I like that
yeah,
name a lot.
it was Ramona's bio dad's grandmother's name and his dad was like, "Oh, that woman was such a bitch." And I was like, "Well, we definitely don't want to name her that then." And so
Yeah,
after that, we decided not to tell anyone what we were deciding to name her. And
that's
now I
smart. That's smart.
know
That's a smart thing to do, everybody. Listen to her. Don't
yeah, and
tell
now I
nobody.
know why people don't want to tell others what their baby names are because there's so much judgment about baby names,
There are.
you know?
That's like the
And
first
that's
thing.
yeah, and that's where it starts is like, "Oh, you're going to name your kid that? Oh, I know somebody who was such an
And right
asshole
when
with
they
that
do
name."
that, they take away the
Your
beautifulness
joy.
uh,
Yeah.
of finding a name for your baby. You're like, no. And then if you've really stuck it out and you've already like put her fucking name or his name on things, you're like, God damn it. Now I'm really stuck. And this
Yeah.
person has put, oh, well, that's my ex old lady. Da, 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 they stole my, and they go on and on. Oh, I hate it. The
I do
worst. And
too.
I told everybody my baby's names. I made the mistake each and every time. Each and every time.
We didn't tell anyone. And then I remember my ex mother-in-law was overseas and so we had to tell her in a video Zoom call or whatever and it was I think we told everyone maybe the week before Ramona was born and we were telling her over this Zoom call and she kept saying Ramonica, you're naming her Ramonica? And we're like, no, Ramona. And she, for the longest time, she thought we were naming her Ramonica,
Oh
which
my
to this day
God.
makes me laugh so hard
I
because
bet.
people actually call us Ramonica sometimes.
That is so
And I don't
funny
know
to me.
why people think that our name is Ramonica, either
I,
one of our names.
you
Cracks
know,
me up.
I think honestly that Ramona's a beautiful name. The way I picked my kids' names, I just had to make sure they couldn't be made fun of. That was like
That's
my
what we
whole
did
thing.
too.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
whole thing. I had to make sure of that because
Yeah.
it's very important. With a name like Asia, you really have to make sure that happens.
So, what are some parent shaming things that you see regularly? Not just you specifically, but like ones that you just see out and about.
Oh man, when kids have meltdowns in public, I hear people in line talking about the parenting. About I would have spanked that kid. I wouldn't have let him throw that fit. I don't know if you've been in that situation, but if your child's throwing a fit over a balloon and you've bought them a balloon, every day of the last week, and you don't even have any money for a fucking balloon, and they're losing their shit, you really don't need to hear how somebody would have parented your child at that moment. And it happens a lot. You know what I mean? People just interject. And in grocery stores, like out when you're at the county fair, I wouldn't let my kids do that. Gets
I
said a lot.
really I really stopped trying to respond to those situations in that I would have parented differently, especially now with so many neurodiverse kids out
Yeah,
there,
I agree.
because I feel with Ramona, the way that her brain works is so different. And, you never know if a kid is ADHD or
Yep.
autistic
Yep.
or, has some sort of neurodiversity. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that not all kids are created equal.
Yeah.
They don't know sometimes how to behave in what's, now termed a socially acceptable way. They don't maybe have the same social cues or social understanding of
Yeah.
situations. And if you're out in public and you see these meltdowns, you assume that this kid is not being quote parented correctly or
Yeah.
disciplined correctly, when in reality this kid could have something that's, neurodiverse about them. Maybe they do have ADHD, maybe they do have autism or something like that, and they don't understand that being told no about a balloon or something like that, it's a big deal to them,
Yeah.
where, a neurotypical kid might just be like, oh, okay, well,
I'll
my
get a
parents said
balloon
no,
next
it's
time.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's my three kids. They would typically be like, okay. And my kids don't throw fits. So I don't really see that kind of judgment in public. But with Rebecca, parenting Rebecca was very difficult because everywhere I took her, she would steal from people and she would take their things, even if it was as small as a food item or a pencil or like a little piece of soap from the sink in their bathroom. Like it could be something so super small. And people would always judge me automatically. Like, it's got to be her. She must not be raising her right. And it's like, no, my daughter has ADHD. She has a very impulsive behavior issue. Like, she can't control herself. Um, and I've been working with her entire life on it. So no, it's not me and it's not her fault. So when I started just not taking her places and not going places because I didn't want to feel that shame that maybe it was me, that maybe I wasn't a good enough mom, and that's why she acts the way she acts. So,
Yeah. That makes it really hard too, because same with Ramona, like I've experienced situations like that where, she knows better. She's been taught better. And if you asked her, she would absolutely say, oh, yeah, no, I definitely know not to do something like that. And, you've explained the rules to her. We've gone over it 100 times. And then, she's left in a situation where, she's curious. And kids with ADHD specifically, and I don't know a lot about autism. I know a little bit, but not enough to speak on it. But with
yeah, me
ADHD,
either. Me either.
she there's a lot of impulse control, and even kids that are medicated, they still have impulse control. But she will just get an idea in her head and then she executes it.
Yes,
And
they don't think it through at all.
no, at all. And
Not
there's
the consequences anyway. They
not the
might think how they're going
consequences
to get through the plan, but they don't think about the after. The after.
at all. And
Hmm.
that's all about dopamine. They're
Yeah.
always chasing a dopamine high. And, there's been situations, especially like at my mother in law's house, where she's just wanting to see, she's curious. And my mother in law's got a nice things and, little candy things stashed here and there. And a couple of times Ramona's gotten into a few drawers that she's not been supposed to,
Yeah.
getting into. And it's caused some problems. And, it not only makes me feel horrible as a parent, but it makes Ramona feel horrible, and nobody responds to the situation in an
Very
appropriate
well.
manner.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times I try to explain, like, hey, she's not trying to be, you know she's not trying to disobey the rules, she's not
Yes.
trying to get into things on purpose to upset anyone, she's not doing this deliberately to, make anyone angry, she's not being malicious. She really just doesn't have impulse
Control.
control
It's
at
not
all.
there at all. Rebecca, that was her biggest issue, I would say, was the impulse control, and it lended to stealing food, stealing from other people, lying, and then sexual behaviors because of
Yeah.
all of it. It literally spiraled out of control, and that's a whole different topic. But the judgment that comes behind the mommy shaming and the dad shaming and just the parent shaming that came behind her failures was very difficult to handle, because everybody looks at me like, wow, what the fuck? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
what are you doing? You're not
What
doing
what
your
are you
job.
doing? And that was back then. And I know now that she's 22 years old, there are there has been 4 years where she has proven that this is not a me thing, and this is a her thing. And I'm glad that that's happened, because now everyone's looking at my other kids and realizing how great they're doing, and then looking at me and saying, okay, it wasn't you. But back then, man, the shame was so thick. You could feel the tension when I walk in with Rebecca. You could feel it. It was like thick, and it was uncomfortable to be around anybody, really, because they just thought the way I was dealing with her, the way I was talking to her, the way I was handling her was inappropriate. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, she has ADHD,
It's
and you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how many times I've had to tell her this. You know what I mean? I get to say it like this now. I
Yeah,
get
because
to.
outsiders who are looking in, exactly, they don't understand the whole dynamic. They don't understand or see the whole picture. They're seeing what you're telling them, and as a parent, it just looks like we're making excuses for the
Or we're
situation.
being too hard on them. That's so,
Yes.
I don't know about you, but that's like a lot of the shame that people would give me. Why are you being so hard on Rebecca? What do you mean? Like, I'm asking her to do typical stuff every other kid does. And I've had to ask her so many times that now it sounds mean, but I'm really just prompting her at this point. This is a prompt. You know what I mean? Why are
See,
you
I don't
judging me
get
again?
that.
Why are you
I
shaming
don't
me?
I don't get that you're being too hard on her. I get the why are you making excuses for her?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good side of it. That I never really made excuses for Becca or spoke on her ADHD. I always made it Becca's problem and not her issues with her actual brain. So I can totally see why you.
See, I do like I
Yeah.
try to be the advocate for like
Yeah.
she's doing this because she has ADHD. While I'm not trying to make the excuse for her, it's always like she physically cannot control how her brain works. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm always trying to advocate for her, and I don't think people look at it like that.
No, they look at it like you're
So,
making excuses. That makes
yeah.
sense. I like to see your
So,
side of it. I like to see your side because
yeah,
we
it's
raised
different.
our kids in such different eras. I mine 20 years ago, yours 10 years ago, basically. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking at it for
Yeah,
about 10
decades
years
apart
apart.
almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it definitely gives that feel about how far we've come, because you can say now, well, it is her ADHD and they have to give her the 504. They have to do the accommodations. And back then, I had to write letters. I had to fight, like basically fighting Congress to get her help. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
it was ridiculous. So like I feel like we've come a long way with that, and I'm glad that at least in that part of the conversation, like that was good to know that you don't have that shame like I had. You can use your voice and say, no, this isn't her fault. Where me, I had so much shame in it. I thought it was all her fault, and which means it's my fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm
Oh,
not executing properly then.
yeah. I feel like too that the parent shaming like really exacerbates like the mean girl situation where finding friends is so hard anyway when you get the mom shaming or the parent shaming into it. I mean, this I don't know about dads because I'm not a dad.
Yeah.
I'm a
We
mom,
can't really speak on
I
that.
can't
Yeah.
really speak on that.
Yeah.
I was a
And we
single
should
mom
say that.
for I was a single mom for, a couple of years by myself, so I kind of felt like I did the both things, but I'm not a dad, so I can't really speak
Yeah.
on that. And I feel like making friends as a woman is a lot different than making friends as a male. Um, I feel like when you get the mom shaming, the parent shaming situation involved, it really exacerbates like the mean girl
Yeah.
situation,
It
and
does.
then making
It
friends
brings
is
them
so much
out.
harder. It makes it so much more uncomfortable. It makes it so much more, are you judging me? And then how do you make friends? You,
You only make the ones that you think are the
you,
same type of
you
mom as
do.
you, because you don't want the
Yes,
shame involved with ever
exactly.
doing anything different than anybody else. Like, don't come to my house because you might think I yell too much, or you might think my discipline's too harsh, or I'm too relaxed, or my house isn't clean enough. Like, there's so much shame, and then you can't make friends because you can't open yourself up, to not be afraid of those things happening.
Yeah, I feel like we probably lose out on a lot of friendships that way too, because we don't want to open ourselves up to the idea that these people are judging us or these moms are judging us and judging the way that we're parenting our kids. And, it makes it so much more uncomfortable when we do have those friends over, especially when we're making friends on. We have to flip our parenting dynamic when we're
Yes.
trying to make friends, that uncomfortable situation when you have a friend over and you're just starting to make friends. And I even see myself sometimes with friends that I've been friends with for years, decades, like sort of rearranging almost the way
Yeah.
that I parent Ramona in front of them. Not that I'm completely different, because I wouldn't say that I completely changed myself, but you like have to almost adjust the way that you parent because you don't want to be judged by people.
Yeah.
And that's so uncomfortable, and
I
we
know.
shouldn't have to do that,
We should be
you
able to
know?
remove that, and there should be no shame. And as long as you're the mom who's providing, um, doing their best and not abusing their children, I think you should just be accepted. Like, not everyone keeps their house clean. Not everybody pays their bills on time. You know, I keep my house really clean, but do I pay my bills on time? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? So I'm not perfect. People think I have it all together. I don't. And I hope and pray that this podcast shows everybody, you know what I mean? That we're all equal. We're all different. So many different types of mom and dad and parent out there, that there's no shame involved as long as you're not abusing your children, you're not neglecting your children, and you're doing your absolute best to make them the best people possible. Fuck it. Why are we judging anybody? Why are we shaming anybody?
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason for it.
No.
And I think too, it comes back around to, that brings us to the whole situation of being afraid to make friends and being afraid to ask for help in those parent shaming situations. Then we just sort of become martyrs, and we don't want to, you know,
Yeah.
we're afraid, and we're fine. We'll just lay on our swords. We'll just do it all ourselves. And, that's unhealthy. And,
Yeah.
that's not something that needs to be done either. So,
How
yeah,
about the
I don't know.
judgment and how many kids you have?
Oh man.
How much
I
have you gotten? A lot, because I've gotten quite a few since I've had another baby.
I get I got a lot in the beginning when I decided not to have more children. It
With
took
Reed, everyone was like,
No,
"What? You're
not
not
just
gonna
with Reed, just in general.
like when you made the decision?"
When I made the decision not to have more kids, I did get a lot of judgment. You're
Yeah,
going to change your mind.
yeah, that's the first thing people say.
Why would you make that decision? You're way too young. In fact, making the medical decision to actually not have more children, because I had it done officially. I couldn't even, I had to wait a year, and then getting my insurance to do it, getting the hospital to take care of it. It was a whole thing. But I had so many people tell me that I was going to change my mind, that it wasn't healthy for Ramona to not have siblings, that one and done wasn't the right choice for me. So many different things. And then I still get asked when I'm going to have more kids. And it's like,
Never,
why is
never.
that anyone's business? I never
No,
understand that question of asking people how many kids they're going to have, or if they're going to have kids. It's or
I think it's a
why they
sexual
had so many
question.
kids.
It's a sexual question to me. I don't know why. Maybe because that's how you make them. But it's like, when are you gonna fuck your husband again and pop out another baby? That's what I hear. That's exactly
It's,
what I hear.
isn't it a weird
It
question? It's
is.
so weird to me.
It's
It's
like, how
like,
do you
yeah,
know
it's
we're
like a
even
mating
sleeping in the same
question.
bed anymore? How do you know
Yeah.
I'm even doing it with that
Maybe
guy?
I
Like,
don't have
yeah,
sex
like maybe
ever.
I'm celibate. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hate
It's
it.
super weird. One of my sisters has 5 kids, and of course the last set she had was twins. So I mean, she's had 4 pregnancies, but
Yeah.
she gets a lot of judgment for
That's
how
what
many
I
kids.
get. I get it too. I get it too.
Yeah.
People look at me like, you couldn't afford those two. Why'd you have another one? That's some of the shame I get. And it's like, well, she wasn't planned, and she's here now. We're making it work. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
get the
I think
shame.
no I don't think a lot of people do plan.
No, my bookmark babies were not planned. Rebecca wasn't planned, and neither was Scarlett. The two middle ones, those were the ones that me and Junior like consciously made and knew
Yeah.
what we were doing. But otherwise, no, it
Interesting.
was, and it was the thing about Scarlett that nobody really knows the story on is I have endometriosis, end stage endometriosis,
Okay.
and that means I have follicles on my uterus, and I'm not able to really have a baby. Well, then
Interesting.
my left ovary flipped inside of my body and died inside of me, and it was very painful, and I had to have emergency surgery to take it out. It had a 6 centimeter cyst on it, and it flipped
Wow.
it. So I lost my ovary when I was in 2018. I don't even know, that was 5 years ago, so I was 35, And they told me the chances of you getting pregnant now, if you're not purposefully trying to get pregnant, are super slim. Just use a condom, do whatever you're doing, whatever you've been doing for the last 10 years, just keep doing that and you should be fine. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we do the pull-out method in my house. That's what we had done for 10 years. So we continued to do that. And one time, it was birthday sex and it just happened. And I got pregnant with one ovary, end
Oh
stage
my god.
endometriosis, a broken back, a broken foot, bad hands. Like I had a tumor in my brain. Like the doctor looked at me and she was like, what were you doing? And I'm like, they told me. And she goes, oh my God, you only have one ovary and you only had one slip up. And I said, yeah. She goes, your baby's a miracle then, for there to actually be an egg in that one spot at that time and for you to actually make the mistake at that time when you weren't planning. I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, so it's okay then. You didn't. I'm like, no, that's the shame behind it. It doesn't matter how it happened.
Yeah,
Why do you got to make me feel guilty? It's already happened. You know
it's
what I
already
mean? Like
done. It's a
we've already
done deal.
here. Yeah.
Yes.
So no, I'm very thankful I have her. I have Scarlett. I have to say that. She's gotten me through all of the bad times, with Rebecca the last 4 years, during my pregnancy. And then having her is I can have somebody who loves me and is excited to see me and is learning and growing. And it just gives me life. So I don't want to make it seem like she's unwanted in any way, but it was I was put down. I was made to feel bad because I had so many ailments. And that means I'm putting so many pressures on the pregnancy because I'm almost 40 years old and I have seizures and I have a broken back. And they're like, well, you can terminate the pregnancy, and I'm like, no, it's not what I want to do. That might be good for others, but it's not what I want to do. I'm going to tough it out because I got pregnant. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm going to do. And so I did. I carried her full term. And I did have to find a doctor who wouldn't treat me like shit too. I had to find a
Yeah.
specific doctor, a female doctor,
And that
one
would
that's
be
high
hard too
risk
cuz you're like
pregnancies.
older and
She had to
like
she had to understand my mental health issues because I'm mentally
mhm.
ill. I'm bipolar. I was on a lot of medications. She had to wean me off. You know what I mean? Like I had to change my whole life around to keep Scarlett. And a lot of people gave me shame for that. Not my mom or my family, of course, but outside, like doctors' offices and places that, you would go. So
Yeah.
I have always gotten, I have to say, from day one, my mom, when I told her I was pregnant with Rebecca, was, I could cry. She was the only person that was like, come home. I don't give a fuck. That's my grandbaby. And she was 36 years old. Could you imagine becoming a grandma at 36 years old? That's how old
No.
you are. It's ridiculous to think
I
about.
couldn't.
I can't
Yeah.
either. So my mom really had my back and she stayed with me my whole pregnancy, basically took care of me, the best that she could. And she was in the room when I gave birth to Rebecca. So she's always been a big part of Rebecca's life. And I just, I had to say that real quick too, because I know a lot of people get shame and I was getting a ton of shame at the time, but I did have her support. Her support was there. So
I think when I was a single mom, I actually got more shame,
yes,
parent shame when I was a single parent than I did,
I
which is
agree.
really interesting because you would think I think we'll do a whole episode on single moms, but
Yeah, we'll have to touch
yeah,
base on
because
that. It's a whole
there's a lot on there, but
there's
I
a lot
feel
to
like I
unpack
got
there.
there is a lot to unpack there, but I feel like I got more parent shaming and mom shaming around that time than I even do now, but
When
yeah,
there's
it's
a
just
when
really
there's a when
interesting.
there's like a spouse situation or a partner situation, then you do get a lot less shame. It's
Yeah,
more
which is
individual and
it's
it's
really
more like,
sad actually when you think about like how that dynamic is. It's like, oh, well, you have a partner, so you
well,
probably are doing okay.
Well, men get shamed, I think, because like my husband, he's gotten shamed before for not having a job or the right job to take care of his family, or when he stayed home and he took care of the kids and I worked in the beginning of our relationship, he got a lot of shame. I'm sure when he went and did WIC and stuff, people looked at him like he was fucking crazy for being there.
Oh yeah.
This was 20 years ago, 18, 19 years ago. So he stayed home for, I think it was in 2006 till 2010, I'm pretty sure. So I'm sure he had a lot of it. My husband is not like a big communicator when people are treating him differently, really, but I'm sure it happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure men go through it too, especially single dads, single parents. Yeah.
Do you get anyone ever shaming you for your parenting style?
I think that would be the number one thing I get shamed for. Yeah. Cause I am a different type of mom. I cuss at my kids in front of my kids. Um, I smoke pot. That's normally not something that people, even admit to doing when they have children. And it's my medicine. It's how I get through my pain. I'm clean and sober off everything. So it's the only way to manage my chronic pain, and it works for me. And my kids know it's my medicine, and they, and a lot of people judge me on that. They don't understand like how I could even, you know, let that happen. And it's like, well, guys, for me, it's medicine and it's not a drug. And so I do it a little differently. And I get a lot of flack for that, especially
Yeah.
from my family. I would say
I
my extended family does not understand how I'm doing it.
Yeah, I feel like parenting styles are one of those things where people really like to judge on that,
Yeah.
because everybody's parenting style is so different. Like you've got the helicopter mom and the cool mom and the, hippie kind of
The strict
mom and
tiger
the super
mom.
strict, like authoritative mom. Like it's just really interesting to me to see how people are so judgmental on how everybody's raising their kids so differently. And, you can look at another family and see like they're doing it so completely opposite of me. And they just you
It
just
makes
want to
them
judge that.
uncomfortable.
It
Yeah, it
makes
makes
them
them
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
And you're not doing it the same way that I'm doing it, and I don't understand that. So, I'm
Yeah.
just going to judge it. And for me personally, I don't my sister, the one with 5 kids, she raises her kids totally different than I do. And
I love it. I
that's
love it.
I yeah, and
It's gonna
that's
make more diverse children and different people.
exactly.
It takes all kind of people to make a world, man. It's not cookie cutter. We don't want cookie cutter kids, but we want them all to be good and kind and respectful, and
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 that's the thing
all
is like
those
you get the core
things.
things in there and
Yeah,
then
and then the rest
who
of it, who
cares?
cares? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why are we? Yeah, what works for me is not going to work for you, and it's not going to work for your kids. You know what I mean? So,
Right. I mean, and then especially if you're bringing like religion and things
oh
into
my
it. I mean,
gosh,
we're not a religious family, and so
I'm
I'm
not
not going to
either. I
take
get
my
so
kids
much judgment
to
for
church and
that.
stuff. So,
I've never taken my kids to church. And I
yeah.
think that a lot of people think that that is really bad. They almost think it's evil. And it's like, well, no,
Ramona's
no.
actually gone to church. She used to go with a neighbor across the street because I think it's really important for
I
kids to
used,
be exposed to religion
I
early in
used to send
childhood.
Becca. I used to send Becca. And there was a reason, man, because I was like, give this kid some God. She needs some God in her life. I need her God fearing. I need her to fear something other than me. But no, it didn't work. I have a hard time with organized religion. I'm a very
Yeah.
spiritual person and I consider myself to be a Christian, but I'm not into organized church. I do not go to organized church. I do not fund an organized church. To me, it's just a bunch of pedophiles and people that are there to try to impress everybody. I don't believe in it. So, and that rubs my entire Christian family wrong. It just rubs them the opposite
Yeah.
way. So it's difficult when you're not religious, and most of the world is. You know what I mean?
Yes, a lot of people are. I
Yeah.
think it's important for kids to be exposed to it when they're young just because in our household, I think we like the idea of kids being able to like make that decision if it's
Yeah.
something that's important to them. So we let Ramona, explore
You
that
didn't go with
avenue.
her. You didn't go with her though.
Nope. She
See,
went
and
we have neighbors across the street
yeah, see, I
to
was
go.
I was touched through the church, so I can't even let my kids go to like the little classrooms. So what I did with
Oh,
my kid, because I just have so much PTSD with it, so I always keep
yeah.
them in the main church with me. So what I did was I baptized my kids through my mother-in-law was really into making sure that happened. So I let her baptize them, and we did go to Catholic church. I think until Lily was 3 years old, and we went religiously. Junior went okay. I went to church my entire childhood. Junior went to church his entire childhood. And then we did want our kids to have a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
But I think
I
around
think
3 years old is when we just realized we were being fake, and I can't do fake. It makes me
yeah.
feel some type of way. So we just bailed
No,
on
that
the
makes sense.
idea. Yeah. But they're both, all my kids are, aware of God. I pray, they pray, we talk about it and stuff. But it's very difficult to do the organized thing, to be there every Sunday and put your clothes on and show up and stuff. It's like, not my style, and that's okay. Everybody's style is super different, and that's what's great about being a parent and getting to do it your way. And they're your kids. You get to do it your way.
And that is the full circle.
It
You get to
is.
do it your way. And that's why we got to stop looking at parents and how they're doing things and think,
Yeah,
you're not doing it my way, so you're doing it the wrong way. Because
exactly.
everybody's going to do it their own way. And who cares if somebody is parenting their kids a different way than you are? It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it shouldn't. And you can stop the shame. You can really stop it. You can, you know, um, not disassociate from the people that judge you, but you can definitely distance yourself and put boundaries up
Set some
and
boundaries.
make it very clear that, your
We
parenting
love
style.
boundaries.
Oh yeah, we're all about boundaries here. I think if you put up some boundaries saying my parenting style is not up for debate and this is how I'm going to do it, and if you don't like it, that's fine, but I don't want to hear about it. I've had to do that with my mom, because I parent my children where they can come up and ask me a question and they can talk to me pretty much about anything. And
Same.
my mom raised me to be lower classmen, and I couldn't just say how I felt or ask a question because I wanted to. So if my kids question something, if they're like, why do I have to do that now? And I'll explain to them why they have to do it now. My mom takes that as a sign of disrespect. And she would immediately say, well, they shouldn't be talking to you like that. Mom, get out of this. None of your business. My parenting style is my parenting style. And she's learned the boundary now and she doesn't get involved because she raised me and nobody got involved. You know what I mean? Let me raise mine. You don't need to get involved. So I'm very
Yeah.
big about boundaries. I place them where they need to be,
I agree with that. I think that's really important when especially if you have somebody who's in your life like regularly
Yeah.
parent shaming you and making you feel, that the way that you're doing things is wrong or not the right way, or
Yeah,
just making you feel uncomfortable
yeah,
about
or
how
less
you're doing
than,
something. Yeah,
like your parenting
exactly.
isn't good enough, which is bullshit. You know what I mean? As long as you're parenting them, it's good enough. Parenting is so.
Are
What's
your
the
kids
word?
happy? Are they
Yeah.
healthy? Are they fed? Or maybe not even happy. I mean, preteens are never happy, are they?
I mean, depends on the fucking hour of the day, man.
Right?
These preteens.
Good point.
Jeez, a roller coaster we've both been on. Yours is 12, or is she 13
Are your
yet?
kids dressed? Are they fed? Did you send them to school today?
Is she 13 yet? That's all I got to know. And she's still 12.
January.
Oh, see, my son just turned 13. So it is like a switch. It is a little bit.
Oh, is
ticks
it?
up the attitude.
I've
yeah.
heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it ticks it
yeah.
up.
Oh, yeah. The
Damn it.
preteen. No, the preteen is just pre. It's just
Oh,
pre-teen. It's like
stop telling me these
It's lubing
things.
you for the
Oh,
full
it's
5 years of bullshit you're about to go into.
It's lubing me up for the penetration is what you're saying.
Yeah, it is. Bend over, Monica. You're going to be taking it for 5 more years. Now, when you get on the other side, though, I do have to give you guys hope. I have an adult child, and even though she's not very successful the way I would deem it successful, she is successful as far as she's concerned. And that's all that matters. She's happy. She's healthy. She's taking care of herself, and she's living her best life. So I did good then. You know what I mean? And there's no shame in saying that I did a good job, even though it's not the way I would have wanted it. You know what I'm saying?
I do, actually. And I really feel that we can take this parent shaming and just stick it somewhere else, turn it into a positive.
We
and
can.
just
We
be
can
like,
flip it.
I don't care. You know what? I'm just going to be like, hey.
If everybody stands up for themselves and everybody says, this is what I'm going to do. This is who I am, and is proud of it. It will go away. It'll limit it.
I'm proud of the way that I parent Ramona. I don't always make all the best decisions because, I'm still learning, but I think the way that I do things is the right way for our family.
I do too. I feel the same way about my parenting style. I feel like I got it together, and my kids are turning out great. So I hope everybody out there feels the same way about their parenting style. And if they do, you guys just need to stand up for yourself and make it clear to those shamers that you're not going to take their shame anymore. It's a new day. It's a new day. You can
do that.
Yeah, you can just say, I'm done.
Thanks, but no thanks on your opinions, or just no thanks.
I'm with you.
Don't even thank them. You guys, thank you for listening. You're listening to Everything's Fucked podcast. We're glad you're here. We hope you guys come back.
Come back and see us.
Find us on social media at Everything's Fucked podcast. You can find us at our website at everythingsfuckedpodcast.com. Buy some merch, send us a DM, contact us, whatever.
Hit us up, guys.
Yeah,
want to hear
nice
from
talking to you.
Bye.